Reversing insulin resistance, the biggest problem that is going on with so many Americans. 1 out of 3 Americans are type 2 diabetic. 1 out of 3 Americans are type 2 diabetic. I want to see the statistic on it. I'm going to look this up. Rest of the world compared to America with type 2 diabetes. Because here in America, we eat absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. Indonesia is behind us on it. China, Dominican Republic. This isn't the right thing I'm looking at. But anyways, what is up, ladies and gents? Let's talk about reversing insulin resistance. What's the cause of it? Why so many Americans have insulin resistance? What is insulin resistant? Insulin resistant essentially is when you're taking carbs and sugars, your body breaks down the carbs, converts into sugars, converts it into glucose. And what happens is when your insulin, what the body should be doing is once it's converted into glucose, your muscles, the liver, take it in and store it and are going to use those as energy. Because glucose is the main source of energy for the body other than actual ketones. When your body breaks down fats and produces ketones, and you actually have way more energy dense from ketones than you do off glucose. Your brain craves glucose, and that's why so many people have carb and sugar cravings, because we're constantly taking in so many carbs and sugars. So when you take in the glucose, your body, your muscles, the liver should be storing it and using it. But when you become insulin resistant, that doesn't happen. Now you have all this glucose in the body, the blood sugars are up, the pancreas has to produce even more insulin, which is a hormone, to bring those blood sugars back down. So that's insulin resistance, is when you're not storing the glucose and going to be using it as energy. The body is not breaking it down correctly, and that's what happens to so many people. And how that happens is taking in so many carbs and sugars, making the body exhausted of breaking down glucose to storing it, and the muscle, the liver aren't using it the right way. And that's when type 2 diabetes starts to happen, when the pancreas gets exhausted because of taking in so many carbs and sugars every single day. Like here in America with the American diet, of over 70% of people's calories are coming from carbs and sugars. And once that happens, type 2 diabetes. And that's why 1 out of 3 Americans have type 2 diabetes. What is it that's making those blood sugars go up? It's the carbs and the sugars. What are the carbs and sugars coming from? Breads, pastas, tortillas, stuff out of a box, fruit snacks, fruit roll-ups, Pop-Tarts, cookies, candy, soda. Fruit has sugar in it. Veggies have carbs and sugars in it. So how I've got people reversing insulin resistance, the whole thing, how to reverse that insulin resistance, how to not develop the insulin resistant, and then goes into pre-diabetic and then goes into type 2 diabetes. And you can stop it, and it's just with the nutrition. Nutrition is everything. It's not just with weight loss. It's actually about getting healthy. And that's why I try and talk about it so much. And people are like, oh, you can eat whatever you want and still make the scale move. Awesome, but what about actually becoming healthy? Getting off type 2 diabetic medications, getting off insulin, making it so your body functions the way that it should, producing the hormones and functioning the way that the body is supposed to function and how it should thrive. And it even goes hand in hand with hypothyroid. Hypothyroid, your body is going to make it to where it has even a harder time functioning correctly with those hormones. And hypothyroid makes it tough to have the body breaking down the nutrients and breaking down the food that we're taking in the way that it's supposed to. It doesn't function correctly. Hypothyroid will cause that too. So if that happens and you're insulin resistant, it's just a perfect storm of making it so difficult for people to lose body fat. And so many people have hormone problems, and it literally just comes down to the food. So how I've got people reversing insulin resistance, 100% is nutrition. I had somebody call in because we do one-on-one calls every single night, 6, 7 p.m. Arizona time. Whenever I'm live at night, we are doing one-on-one calls. So if you're struggling with weight loss, you're not losing body fat, you're not getting results, make sure you guys call in. My goal is to make this weight loss thing as simple as possible for you guys. But I had somebody who literally their doctor made them do over 3 or 4 different tests for for insulin resistance, because they couldn't believe that their patient was able to reverse insulin resistance. A doctor was mind blown about it. And they kept making them do all these different tests because they were able to reverse insulin resistance. One of my clients, after calling in, was able to do it. And how she did it was just nutrition. So like I said, the breads, the pastas, the tortillas, the stuff that's super high in carbs, your body breaks it down very quickly and having a huge sugar rush for the body. So if we're able to control the blood sugars, if we're able to control the hormone insulin, remember when insulin's present in the body, you're not burning body fat anymore. So that's why it's a huge key factor too for people who are struggling with weight loss to control the blood sugars. Control blood sugars, you control the hormone insulin. And I truly believe when you control hormone of insulin, it goes hand in hand with all the other hormones in the body functioning correctly with it. So if you want to do the fruits, go for the fruits. Go for the lower glycemic fruits. Apples, berries is what I'd be going for. Majority of the calories should be coming from the meat anyways. Because remember, y'all have a calorie goal still for weight loss. Maintenance calories, weight gain calories. And your carbs and sugars come from the fruit. Your blood sugars aren't going to go crazy with it. I would go more in the morning. I would do it before your workout. Something you're going to do that you're going to be able to use that glucose as energy. Do those carbs and sugars before your workout. Heavy carb meal is what I would be. If I were to do a heavy carb meal, it would be for something that's going to be active and strenuous on the body. So we're at least going to use that glucose as the energy during that time of exercising or whatever physical activity we have, a hike, swimming, going for a walk or whatnot. But your carbs and sugars also come from the veggies or the fruits or the nuts or the seeds. But like I said, majority of the time my clients are taking in the calories coming from the meat, from the fats. You got a fat, delicious ribeye steak, you just got fats and proteins with it. The body's going to use those fats as energy. And then you're going to take in all the protein. Because remember, the protein is the number one building block, the number one macronutrient that our body needs to thrive, hormone function, repair muscles, repair cells, the hair, the skin, the nails. Protein is so important. It's the number one macronutrient that we 100% need to be taking in. You got 2 other fuel sources, the fats or the carbs. I would much rather go for the fats because you're not going to have an insulin response taking in fat. But you take in carbs, you can have an insulin response. If you're insulin resistant, you're going to have a tough time using it as glucose and using it as the energy. And that's how I've got people reversing insulin resistance, because we're not taking in all these carbs and sugars anymore. We're controlling the blood sugars. Our blood sugars are staying level. We're not having our pancreas getting exhausted taking in all of these carbs and sugars. So you change the way you eat, it changes everything with the body. Hormone function, getting off medications. All the time. Day in and day out. I see it happen all the time. But you have to control what you're eating. You have to control what you're putting into your body. No one forces you to eat the cake, the soda, the pastries, the donuts, the cookies. You're 100% in control of not eating Cheez-Its. You eat real food. If you start to change the way you think about food, you got to eat to live, not live to eat. We only eat because we have to. Food should be the highlight of your day. Going out to dinner with friends and family, it's not about the food. It's 100% about who you're surrounding that table around. You don't remember the food you ate. You remember the conversation. You remember the laughs, the cries, the good deep conversations. You don't remember the food that you had. And if everyone starts to change their mindset on that, taking their calories in, just eating real food, stop eating stuff out of a box, you're gonna be golden. That's how I've got people reversing insulin resistance. That's how I got people lowering all their insulin levels, controlling blood sugars, actually becoming healthy. Losing body fat is about getting healthy. having the body that you want to have, it all comes down to eating the right amount of calories and where your calories are coming from. So, reversing insulin resistance, I've had people do it. Real life people, real life results. So make sure you guys smash that share button and have an amazing